Both of us blowing out smoke.
Blowing smoke, Jason.
All right, y'all. Welcome to Verses and Vibes with Thinker and Bash. We are back. We had to take a break last week. Bash with his traveling ass.
Hey,
Uh getting the album out there, getting the name out there. Very proud of what you're doing. I sent you a video early this morning because I saw a young guy who's very talented, but he had the same aesthetic, and I was like, I wonder if that was influenced by Bash with the country boy with the gold teeth and all of that. And he was like, this is how I see country music
yeah,
nowadays. And I was like, the pink beard is just making moves everywhere.
it's starting to get recognized and stuff, and I'm loving it, man. That's been a great time. I ain't gonna even lie.
Yeah, yeah, that's what's up. And then your album drops in what, a week? 2 weeks?
Actually, the first single drops. It's gonna be a
Oh, the
minute
first
before the
single. Okay.
whole album drops, but the
Oh,
first
okay.
single drops April the 14th, and I'm gonna start dropping singles. Releasing singles more and more frequently, and then I think I'm gonna do like two singles and then a 5-song EP, and then
Okay.
two singles, 5-song EP. So hopefully the whole album will be out by like October
Okay.
or November
Which
somewhere.
are we going to be surprised by which one you drop, or have you announced which one you're going to drop on the 14th?
On the 18th, I'm doing I Lived. I Lived is the
Okay.
first. Yeah, that's the first one.
Okay. I
Um,
saw your commercial. Look, we're on the way to my cousin's funeral, and I'm scrolling TikTok, and Bash is in a casket, and I'm like, "Whoa, what?" And then he
Whoa.
pops up.
What's so crazy is I was in the casket for my video. Like there's a part in the I Live video that does require a casket, and I don't want to give it away. But it's not sad. It's not sad, but there is a part where I'm in a casket. And just randomly, the lady who the funeral home director let me use the space for free, right?
Mhm.
Uh, Shout out to Bush Lawn Funeral Home. She let me use the space for free. They've been very supportive of what I'm doing, and so they happened to just be in there while we were shooting this part because everybody else had gone home. So I just popped up and said that when they buried my boss, and she was like, "Oh, we got to record that." Yeah, that's
That's a good commercial though. It's memorable. And I showed it to my daughter. She was
yeah,
driving me to the funeral, and
yeah,
I like flashed it to her. She said, "What is he doing?" And I was like,
just cutting up, man.
"But yeah,
Just cutting up.
that's good." Okay, so I Live drops on the 18th.
On the 18th of
On the 18th.
April.
Okay.
April it'll be available on all platforms on the 18th.
Awesome, awesome. We can't wait. Like I said, we're very proud of you
Thank you so much.
and everything that you're doing. So today we're deviating from. Let me say what's up to the nurse and the fishness. What's up, Mama Bash? What's up, Lenore? What's up, Nikita, Tiffany, KN, Stephanie, and Harrison? What's up with y'all? Thank y'all for being here. We're deviating from our normal reading today. Um, kind of digging into the illogical, historic, non-historical, religious facts of the Hebrews in Israel. Um, I'm sorry, in Egypt, and we're going to talk about something that it's on Bash's mind, but also I think it's on a lot of y'all's mind too. The Holy Spirit and the religious experience in church and how that relates to secularism. And Bash can explain it, but there's a couple of videos that we're going to play. I'm watching the videos for the first time, so my reactions will be real time. Bash has seen them before, so he's going to kind of lead it, and I'm passing it over to you.
Thank you, my dear. First off, man, to all the fishers and nerds, I want to. I said something the other day that really I've been not wrestling with, but just kind of chewing on. Think you ever heard the scripture that says God gives seed to the sower and bread to the eater? You ever heard
Mm,
that? I forget where it is. I think it might be in Lamentations. I can't remember, but there's a scripture that says God gives seed to the sower and bread to the eater, right? And in my preaching days, I learned I use that scripture this way. Okay, so I'm not saying this is the proper interpretation. I'm just saying this is a message I preach. Okay, that imagine there's two men standing on the side of the road, both of them hungry, right? And another man comes down the road and he's on his way to the market. And they say, "Brother, can you help us, man? We down on our luck. Can you give us anything?" And he said, "Well, I ain't got much, but I got these apples. Here, have one." give them both an apple. One man, they both eat the apple. One man, when he gets done, he drops the core. The other man grabs the core that he drops and puts it in his hand, plants it in the ground. The next day, the guy come by again. Hey man, we still kind of down on our luck if you don't mind. So the guy says, man, no problem. Here, give him an apple. And for weeks, that guy comes by, and every day he hands them an apple. And every day they do the same thing. One of them throw the apple, eat the apple, throw it down. Other man eats his apple, keeps the core, plants it. About a year later, the man comes down the street. The man with the apples comes down the street, and there's only one man standing on the side of the road. The other man has planted an apple field, right? And now he's on his way to market, right, to sell his apple.
To sell his apple, yeah.
They both were eaters, right? Pause. But one of them recognized the seed in what they were eating, right? And used that seed to actually be beneficial to themselves, right? So that's how I use that particular scripture. God gives seed to the sower, bread to the eater. Everybody's an eater. There's some things that I believe that, and eating means, we're nourishing ourselves. We might be eating for enjoyment. It's lots of reasons to eat, and there's nothing wrong with any of that, right? But it's lots of reasons to eat. But I think a lot of times we eat things and we might be throwing out a seed that could be really beneficial if we utilized it that way. I've been saying that about this whole country music thing, this whole Southern soul thing. There is a seed in here somewhere that if y'all catch on to, you can really turn this into something great for you. Don't just go out here and dance and have a good time. Network, build, franchise. There is a seed in here somewhere, right? There's a lot of unincorporated Black entertainment money that's walking through people's towns. Don't let that happen in your town and let everybody else make the money off of it because you didn't see the seed. You came and danced and had a good time, but then you ate and you threw the core out, and somebody took that core and said, I'm gonna capitalize on this, right? So I've been saying that about that, and I'm saying that about, or at least I'm bringing this up about religious experiences, right? There is a seed in there somewhere. There is something that's actually really beneficial about what they call in psychology collective effervescence, right? And it is the idea that when people sing together, when they do things together, there is this experience that they have together that is really, I mean, well, in psychology they don't call it magical, but for lack of better words, this collective effervescence, right, where we bond together and we begin to build what they call fictive kinship, which is a brotherhood or sisterhood that you can't really explain outside of that, right? Like there's just something about that. This happens at concerts. This happens at sporting events, right? You go see your favorite team and they win, and you might turn to the person beside you that you never met and feel like you need to hug them, right?
Yeah.
Why do I need to hug that person right now, right? Like, what is that? Right? It's a what they call a collective effervescence, and it's a way to bond people. It's a way to put people together. Y'all probably had some experiences like that when you were down in Florida, right? Just I don't really know why I like this person so much, but man, I'm so happy I met you, right? Because you're having this collective experience because you got these collective goals, these similar things in common, blah blah. The videos
Yeah, I
of
was looking at the pictures yesterday that Mr. Michaels put into the drive. He put some more pictures in there, and I was just looking at each individual person, and I was like, "Damn! Like it's wild, right? Like we don't really know these people, but you know these people, and there's this feeling like God, like I'm so happy that I met these people,
yeah,
and it was that I felt that yesterday when I was looking at the pictures.
yes, and I think there is a certain seed in anything, specifically in that gathering together. I try to foster that seed at any of my shows. Like my shows, are a lot like church service, not in the fact that I'm trying to preach Jesus to you,
Mm-hmm.
but I want you to get into your feelings. I want you to dance. I want you to meet somebody new. I want you to sing with me, right? And the reason that I want you, because you feel it when you do that, right? There's a feeling that happens when you look across at somebody singing the same words as you, right? You feel a empathy is something that we developed through evolution, right? So when I see somebody having a similar experience to me, it triggers my empathy, right? I really do make an empathetic bond with these people,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's a real thing. Like that's not like something that's not magic. That's not right. And a lot of people might call that because we don't get to have that experience very often. The few places where we get to have them, especially if you grew up in church, you might not have went to a whole lot of other stuff where you got to do that, right? You probably
Yeah.
didn't go to a whole lot of concerts and sporting events because I was at church a whole time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
right. And the sporting events that I did go to, I probably really did have a kinship with the people I was going to see. I didn't go see the Bulls play. I went to go see my uncle play with his high school basketball team, and I knew everybody here. Right.
Yeah.
So I felt like, oh, this is just normal. These are just my cousins. So that's why I feel that way. But if you get a chance to go experience that in other places, right, where you do have those common, then you like, oh man, that feeling, that thing right there. Right. So I want us to watch a couple videos. And I want to discuss that because I feel like that there's something that could be beneficial to us as we are deconstructing, that we might reconstruct. Um, uh, uh, that she calls it secular spirituality. I just have a I don't like the word spirituality, but I get why she calls it that. So, for lack of better words, secular spirituality. If you don't like that word, throw that word out. Some people just don't. It's not my favorite word because it comes with a bunch of mumbo jumbo to me, right? But if you like that word, I have no problem with you using it or however you choose to describe it. But I feel like it might be wise for us to look into it and see what things we can develop to reconstruct, or no, let me not say reconstruct, to construct, right? Or as my man said the other night, to reproduce,
Mm-hmm.
right? But to produce a system, an infrastructure that gains the benefit of the collective effervescence without having to take on the bullshit of believing untenable belief.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, let's watch that first video that I sent you, and then think about it.
Okay. Okay. Give me just a second.
No problem.
Okay. I love you too. You look pretty. Okay. Sorry.
No problem.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. All right. That's trash. Thank you. Uh, Hold on. Do you want to start with his video first?
Yeah,
So
we can
that
start with that one first. Yeah, we
okay.
can start with that. Can you hear it? 'Cause I don't hear you hear it.
Y'all can't hear me? Yeah, I mean y'all
Uh,
can't hear it?
we can't hear
Y'all
that.
can't hear it?
No, man.
I wonder why.
I see
Uh
it. It's moving.
uh huh. I don't know why. Let's see. Let me stop sharing.
Okay. Oh, when you look and see if the share is muted, because sometimes it'll be like that. Sometimes it'll be those random things.
How do you mute a share?
Um, I don't know. Because I ain't on my computer. I can't see it. Jeez, I'm trying to think it through in my head. When you hit the share, like I can't see it in my head.
Um
Is there a volume to the share? I hadn't done this in so long on the computer. Dang. If we
Let me
can't,
see if I do it this way. Let me see if I change the way. Can y'all hear it now?
I don't even see it now.
Oh shit. Hold on. Hold on. Why is it not?
Okay, now I see it, but I still don't hear it.
Still don't hear it. I
Huh.
have no
But you hear
idea.
it though. You hear it.
I hear it, but I don't know why y'all don't.
Dang.
Like, that's weird. Give me just a second. Let's see. Uh
If not, we could just drop them in the Discord later, and they could watch them. Because I don't want to get caught up on that. I think the point is more important than the video. So don't stress out about it. I could drop them in the Discord later. Y'all can watch them, right? But I'll give you the cliff notes, and then I want us to talk about this. Thank you, because I think you will have some really good insight about this. And I'm gonna start by asking you a question. Do you recall any moment in your religious experience where you felt what you thought of was the power of God?
oh, I see what happened. Hold on.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was trying to
no
figure
problem.
out what's going on. Okay, let's see now. I'm sorry. Let's
No
see,
problem.
because I want to know what they're. Can you hear it now?
Mm-mm.
It had me share to tap share audio. I
Maybe.
got share audio. Entire screen. Share audio. Share.
A church and feel
Okay, now I
God in
hear it.
church
Okay.
just don't go to enough live
All right.
concerts.
Hold on.
It's like I have a theory that people who love church, like really love going to church and feel God in them at church, just don't go to enough live concerts. It's like the exact same feeling. If you know, you know. I have a theory that people
Okay. And then
Right.
what she says.
I have a theory that people who love church, like really love going to church and feel God in them.
The rest of his video talks about how people who go to church probably just don't go to enough live concerts, so they think that what they're experiencing is very unique. And what I love about this video, even though it's just like a cute observation, that there's not much difference between live concerts and the feelings that you feel when you sing hymns together, is that we're discovering why religion works. And this is where I think atheism as
Tell
a
me when you want to
culture
stop and then say
is
something,
sometimes
okay?
lacking, because
Okay.
atheism or skepticism or rationalism will say we have a term for this. It's called collective effervescence, where our brains actually do sync up and we start acting like a group rather than individuals, especially with music. And this is one of the reasons that Plato said that music was too dangerous for the common folk. He argues that you can get infected with music, so the only kind of music that he wanted played for like large parts of society is like regulated music with positive emotions or hero songs, or else it could be dangerous to the state,
Stop.
because
Stop.
he was aware of.
Okay. Okay. Good point. All right. Right. So you see how we have a name for that collective effervescence, where brains really do kind of link up and you start to behave as one collective body instead of as a bunch of individuals. Right.
Mhm.
That's a real phenomenon. Like that's not magic. That's a real phenomenon. Your empathy kicks in, and all of a sudden you begin to move as a collective. Right. You ever seen the movie oh my God, with the blue people? Avatar,
Avatar. Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
In the first one, they would go sit in front of the tree Awa, and they would
Mhm.
just rock, and the tree would just light up, right? And they were just collectively rocking that way, right? Like it didn't even like it wasn't even that they were trying to rock that way. It was just like, you know. And they had, I remember I used to go to this old Baptist church sometimes, and they would do devotion, and the longer they would do it, you would see people just do that same little thing, right? And they didn't know it wasn't no rhythm to it wasn't even like a rhythm to the song. Those devotional songs don't really have a rhythm. You just kind of singing them, but you look around and you'll see the whole congregation just kind of, the more you get into it, almost hypnotic, right?
Mhm.
But the collective kind of converges on this one group experience, right? Where you stop behaving as an individual like, I mean, of course you're still an individual. I'm not saying but the collective begins to just over time behave in a more cohesive manner, right? And they call this collective effervescence. And she made that good point that Plato thought that music was dangerous because of that. Because in as much as you could get collective joy out of that, you could get collective anger out of that. You could get collective destruction out of that, right? And so these experiences are powerful. That's why I was asking, do you recall any time, like, can you recall any time that you had an experience like that where, you felt like you felt the power of God in you? You ever had one of those?
Yeah, like at church, like when the organ would play, like,
Mm,
and I noticed yesterday at the funeral, my sister got up to do the prayer right at the beginning. Like at
mm,
first it was just all quiet, and then she gets up and she does the prayer, and immediately she goes into "Come in the room, God, come in the room," like that, and then everybody just you know joined her on that level. Like they went from 0 to 100, and then when she got done, they went right back down to 0.
mhm,
Yeah,
mm,
and I noticed that as I'm looking around at everybody, I it was almost as if I had to like intentionally not join them, if that
mhm,
makes sense.
mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. I did a speech yesterday at the University of North Alabama, and I got a chance to go speak to their urban music department because they have a great music program up there. Shout out to UNA. And they, and the lady asked me, she's like, "Oh, you do all this talk about home. What is home to you?" And I was like, "Man, home is where things make sense, right? Any place you put your hand or feet, you can live there. But home is where like the things just make sense. You know what breakfast is, right? Like people eat breakfast all over the world, but home is where breakfast makes sense to you. You know what I'm saying? Like when I go places and I want some grits and they don't know what I'm talking about, I know I'm not at home. Like this can't
Mhm.
be home because home would know this, right? And
Yeah.
and to demonstrate that, I just started singing, "Oh, what did thine only son?" And you could feel the right? Because everybody resonated with that sound. Like you knew that sound. You knew that was a call to something. Even if you don't really know the words, you knew the sound, like the call to something. And it was thick. Now, that wasn't the power of God. Somebody might walk away from that saying, "Girl, I was in that little talk yesterday and he brought in the spirit." I did not, right? I know I didn't. I don't have the spirit to bring.
Mhm.
But I am learning what those call and responses do, right? How they get us to come into a cohesive space, right?
Mhm.
And to utilize that cohesive space to, well, we're gonna get to what all this do later on. I just wanted to ask that question if you've experienced that, right? To anybody in the comments, have y'all ever experienced that? Be interactive with us today. I want us to get a bunch of comments, and this will help the algorithm for sure. But also, I just want to know what these experiences are, right?
I
If
think
you
I
if
think
you
it's the same like when Beyonce says, "Look around, everybody on mute." Like it's that type of call. Like everybody knows what's coming next, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So
you remember that song? All I do is win, 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 no matter what. Remember that song?
yeah.
I used to love that song because no matter where you were, when that song came on, you could be in the middle of the mall. When they said everybody's hands go up, people
Everybody.
would just
Yeah. We used
right.
to play it all the time at the games, at my son's games, because we knew what we wanted the crowd to do. Yeah.
And it's almost like you have to participate. And you don't. You thinking to yourself, why do I have to participate in this? But you do. You just gotta do it. Like you
Same
would feel.
thing with YMCA. Like I never listened to that song ever in my life. But if somebody plays YMCA, like you're gonna sing it and you're gonna do the moves.
You're
Like,
gonna do it. You
yeah.
have to do it, right? Like, so there's something to that. That's not magic. It's that corporate, collective, empathetic, right? Like they're doing it, I'm gonna do it too. We're gonna be a team together right now. We're in this together, right? And empathy. There are two things that made humanity a great species, or as great of a species as we are, and they are fear and empathy.
Mhm.
That's how we built the world around us. Those two emotions is what made us build everything you see: fear and empathy, right? Anyway, let's keep going.
Of how we start acting like a group when we sing together. Anyways, that was a side tangent. What I love about secular spirituality is I consider it to be a more worthy project than just pure skepticism, because pure skepticism can just stop at, well, religion is wrong, because we can actually explain with scientific terms everything that's happening here and none of it is magic. And I am great, like, that's great. I'm a fan of that. But to me, it doesn't go far enough. Secular spirituality is about, yes, all of that is true, but let's understand why prayer and meditation works, what it does to the brain. Let's understand why singing together works. Let's understand why rituals work to help us.
Like, I guess when she says why prayer and meditation works, and what sense does prayer and meditation work?
In the brain, right? Not in the outer world. That's what, when we watch the next video, I think it'll make a little more sense.
Okay.
It does something to our brain that is actually useful. It doesn't do anything out here, but it does something in here that's real.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Process emotions. Let's understand why stories are so influential to how we order our lives, not to just disprove religion, although it will do that, but to separate religion from the underlying tool so that we can use that tool without the superstitious baggage. There's a reason that religions exist. There's a reason we co-evolved with religion. So rather than just throw it away as primitive, secular spirituality to me is all about uncovering the tool and using it intentionally without the superstitious baggage that we've kind of gathered through the centuries that have, all the truth claims that lie on top of that tool. So for me personally, I have rituals I do in my life. I have a contemplative practice. I have stories that I read myself over and over and stories that I tell to my kids over and over. I find opportunities to sing with people, mostly at Weezer concerts, not at church anymore. I intentionally created a community that wanted to do deep discussions, philosophical discussions, and spiritual exploration.
I feel like now it's hard for me to take what she's saying and see what you're saying, right? Because she's also the same person who said that atheism would never be able to form communities like religion does, or like churches does. And she says that it's dangerous to raise children in a secular household. And she said that she says we have been trying, right, to prove or to build these communities like churches for ages, and we've never been able to do it. And like I talked about her video a couple of months ago, and I was like, atheism hasn't really connected or engaged with Black communities or communities of color, because that's what we like naturally.
That's what we do.
That's what we do. Right. Yeah. And so for her to say that it would never be able to do that, like I was interested in knowing where her data points came from. But I also think that she pushes spirituality a lot. And so it's kind of hard for me to see. Like, I hear what she's saying, but I think she's doing it to push. I think she's a little biased towards spirituality too.
Fair. I'm just looking at the seed. I don't know this lady. I could care less about what she believes. I don't know what she. I do not know her. I have not watched a bunch of her videos. I've only seen these two.
No, right? I know. I said I hear what you're saying. It's hard for me to hear what you're saying, and from her. You know what I'm saying? From her.
Let me try to lay over what I'm saying on top of what she's saying. Okay. What she's saying that I agree with is that there are two things happening here. One of them is the tearing down of a system that has been abusive. And I think any of us can say, hey, that system is abusive, right? But the question is, why does it work? Right? It's not, right? What in it makes it work? It works for a reason. And there is an explanation for why it works, right? A part of it is indoctrination, right? Just repetition, right? But another part of it is the glue that makes us kind of keep doing it after a while is this collective fictive kinship, this what they call collective effervescence, right? This experience, like you said, the lady said to you, man, I'm kind of pretty much an atheist, but I can't deny this thing, right? Like I can't deny that feeling, that what we call the power of God, right? And that is real. Not that it's the power of God, you get what I'm saying? But the feeling is real, right? And you're right. Perhaps, as there are more deconstructing Black folk, right? We're going to bring our rhythms and our I don't know, our experiences and our culture and our normalities into this space. And as a matter of fact, let me say this. Did you know that the church in America probably wouldn't have survived the Great Depression if it were not for Black people?
Mm-mm.
Because going into the Great Depression, the church in America had become a very think first, it had become almost too philosophical. And people were just they were out of love with it, right? It didn't carry any feeling. It was the charismatic movement that kind of brought people back to church because the feeling came back, right? And guess who brought that back? Guess who brought it? We did.
Mhm.
Right. And so all of a sudden you see this big booming charismatic movement and people are dancing together and they're shouting together and they lifting their hands together. And that kept the church around. The church would be gone more than, I mean, at least it'd have been much smaller, minus the charismatic movement, coming in and out of the depression. Right. Because it had become, just bad brain food for the most part. Right. So, but when we come into this thing, we do bring these rhythms and this collective movement and this collective effervescence that we do very well, right? I think people are starting to recognize that as an actual data point, right? Instead of just thinking, oh, that's just Black folk being Black folk, right? I mean, it is just Black folk being Black folk, but right, to recognize that that's a thing that we bring in with a culture, right? We
Yeah, that's
we
why I was
bring.
saying like with the trip, right? I talked about it like as far as like wherever we go, we're going to figure out a way to make it feel like family, right? And or to feel like a community. And the first trip that we did, right? And now everybody wants another trip, right? The we're about to start doing like the 24-hour lives once a month and raising money for Congo and raising money for Dr. Green. So that community effort, right? It turns into what they say a church does, right? But through secularism. And like she keeps adding this whole concept of spirituality on it. And that's why I said, like, I think when people use the word spirituality, it kind of like it kind of makes me go, yeah, because the things that they're calling spirituality tends to just be human actions.
Yeah, that's why I said earlier, I don't like the term spirituality. I don't like that term, right? That's why I was trying to say earlier, call that whatever you will. She uses the word spirituality, not my word, because to me, spirituality is basically just mumbo jumbo. It's just
Yeah.
right. It's magic. I'm not looking at it as magic. I don't think of this as. Let me say it this way.
It's
When I
science,
think,
honestly.
yes, when I think of the word spiritual, what I mean when I say it is just the connection between the physical world and my emotional world. That's what I think spiritual really means. The connection between the physical world and my emotional world,
Mhm.
right? Like when I see when the first time I met your children, my smile hurt my cheek. I didn't know them babies, right? This is my first time meeting them, right? But something about seeing their faces and connecting their faces to the stories that you tell about them just hurt my face, right? That is that's what when I say the word spiritual, that's what I mean. But I don't use the term spiritual very often because I got other words for it. And spiritual can get to be too mumbo jumbo. You can slide anything into spiritual, right?
Yeah.
She just uses the word spirituality. That's not what I call it. Christianity. You can say like, and you can make up whatever term you like for that, right? Like whatever your term is, you know. I would hope that as a community, whatever you deem to call it, I want to call it that too, because there is a power in speaking the common language, right? So that I know, okay, when she says that word, it means to me this thing, this concept that we're talking about, right?
Mhm.
But whatever we choose to call it, it's fine with me, right? Because but the data points I believe are real, right?
Yeah.
The
Mhm.
yeah, and the actual physical effect is real.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think it because of like using the word, it kind of blocks people from actually hearing the focusing on the data points or focusing on uh the effects, and then like using the words like there are rituals that I do, and then um like she I don't know, it's hard for me to focus on that when it
Yeah,
just feels like she's pushing
those words have
spirituality.
those words come with a baggage. You
Yeah.
understand? Like those words come with those words come with a baggage. It's no different than if I say the word gay right now, right? If I say the word gay right now, most of us are going to think LGBTQ, even if that's not necessarily what that word means. The word just means happy, right? But
Hmm.
we've now given it a new meaning, and that's what it means. Right? And there's nothing wrong with it meaning that, whatever, right? Those words come with a cultural, like I don't use the word church, right? Very like I don't want to start a church, right? Even though it might be tax beneficial to start a church, I don't want to start a church. Like, right? Like and my mama been saying that to me forever. You should start a church and for your taxes. And I'm like, it's something about that word that just pisses me off. I just don't want to do that, right? Even though it would be beneficial in real life, I haven't brought myself to do it because I don't want to be in a church. Anyway, point being, yes, I do understand that those words come with they come with a certain baggage. But that's why I was talking earlier about the seed of the thing, right?
Hmm.
Like the spit out whatever you don't want, right? Spit that word out,
Yeah.
right? Spit that out. But there is a seed in it that I think can be useful,
Yeah.
right?
I,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. Um, I agree that the seed and what she's saying is exactly what you're saying. Like what is the mechanism for this collective response?
Mhm,
Um, when we hear music, when we're all in one space and someone has a outburst of emotion, right?
mhm, mhm,
And that or a learned behavior, and how
mhm.
we like on Sunday mornings, we've been trained, right? Our minds have been trained uh, how to respond to specific stimuli, which
Yeah.
is why the the pastor could be given a benediction, and somebody could go, oh, and then the organ player knows a specific chord to play, and when he plays that chord, the church knows to go up, right? And
Yep.
so they're trained, or we have
Mhm,
been trained to
mhm,
respond a specific way. Like, and I think it is important to point those things out so that we know, to one, that we can stop calling it magic,
mhm,
approach it for what it is.
mhm.
When we know what it is, then we can use the seed, as you said,
Mhm.
right, for more beneficial things.
Yes.
Because like when you were given the story about the the apple,
Mhm,
and you quoted, God gives seed to the sower and bread to the eater.
mhm,
Um, like, and you were right. Like a lot of us in society are eaters,
mhm,
and we throw away the apple. And a lot of times, the reason why we throw away the core is, one, we've been told that the core is trash, or
mhm,
we've been told that only specific people need the core,
mhm.
right? If you don't have land to where you can grow an apple orchard, the core is useless to you,
Yep.
right? And so if you are not a pastor, right, then understanding what makes the congregation respond to this stimuli, it's not useful to you. You just respond to the stimuli. You
Mhm,
just do, right? And so
mhm.
I think it is important for us to like break these things down. Um, and just as much as it is important to deconstruct from the thing that clouds them, right? That clouds
Mhm.
people from being able to hear and see it. Because if we're thinking about God, if God is mentioned, then you automatically are putting yourself in a submissive, subservient place, and you won't allow yourself to take hold of that core enough for you to have the idea to plant it so you can have your own orchard, right? And
Yes.
then I think the same thing with like spirituality, because then you're
Abs-
looking at like magic, and you're
Magic.
not
Yeah.
logically thinking. You magically think that the apple core will turn into an orchard if you just speak it, and you
Right.
don't logically think that you need to actually
I got
dig
a
a
planet.
hole, plant, and water it. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I think the that's a part of the deconstruction of it all, right? Because or at least this is how I'm seeing it. Right? And I keep in mind, I'm just talking about this. These are not the answers, guys. These are the questions, really, right? I'm putting this out here, just say, hey, man, I think this could be something worth looking at and thinking about. right?
Yeah.
And I've been trying to model my shows after this. And anybody who's been to my show, like they've been like, oh man, we had such a good time. But I'm literally modeling it. And I did it almost by accident. I'm not by accident. I did it naturally.
I saw that video. Yeah.
Yeah, I did that
Yeah.
naturally. I wasn't trying to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just how I felt at the time. And if you had been there, think of every hair on my body was just like there was a feeling in that room. I can't explain it other than that. There was a feeling in that room, and everybody felt it, right? And we talked about it for weeks. I mean, like people, like Birmingham was up like for weeks talking about that show, and it wasn't. The power went out 3 times during the show. It wasn't like it was the perfect show. It wasn't, right? But every time the power went out, people just kept singing, and it was like, oh, it was beautiful. But it's because of that collective effervescence, right? That thing that just like, oh no, we're in this together. If something goes wrong with you, it's okay. We're here for you. You're here for like it felt it was a thing, right?
Yeah.
That being said, learning how to use that because it does more than because it causes us to work together on the one hand, but then on the other hand, it also causes it can be a place of emotional repair, right? Emotional repair. I'm gonna give you one of my stories.
Well, let me ask a question right quick, because like when you say it could be a place of emotional repair,
Yeah.
like honestly speaking, I think like it goes back to when I had that live and I said the church is like the trap house, right? Because it can be a temporary high, like a temporary fix, and you continue have to go back to get that feeling, right? That you get when you're collectively with someone, because when you leave, you don't have those people with you, right?
Yeah.
And the feeling or the thought of that feeling that you had when you were amongst the people, it lasts for a little while, then it wears off, and then you got to go back the next week, right? So it's kind of like taking a drug, you
Well,
know,
here's why
and
that works
needing
though.
that hit again.
Here's why that works. It's not really the hit that's the thing. For example, do you know why we get addicted to things? We get addicted to things because we have a receptor, some certain receptor that says, "Hey, give me that again." Right? So there becomes a deficit, and then you go, "Okay, I need that again." The deficit that church builds into the process is shame. Right?
Yeah, I'm talking about that tonight.
Yeah,
Shame.
that's the thing that's the hooker. That's the hooker. I didn't mean it that way. That's the hook. That's the like, oh, you need to come back here. Don't leave because we will shame you if you leave, and you're a sinner anyway. So you need to be here.
But
Right?
I also think that this collective effervescence is built in that too, because when a person is down and out, right? Like there's so many videos on social media right now of people talking about how they were so broken, and when they went to church, they got the feeling, and and then the next thing you know, they're right back the next week needing that feeling again, right? I do
You use
think
them
that
together.
this
Yeah,
is built in,
yeah,
right?
you
Like
use
that
them
whole
together. You
yeah,
use the
but
shame with the good feeling, right? So the collective
no,
effervescence.
I don't
Oh,
think
go ahead.
so. Like I think that they definitely are used separately as well. Like they could be used together, but I do
Mhm,
think that they are used separately also as a you come to church, God is in the building, God hears your prayers. You were down, and then all of a sudden you forgot all your problems, and you know everything's going to be okay while you're there. And then for maybe a day or two after you're gone, and then life hits again, and that feeling is worn off like a drug, right? And then you need it again. and and
let me
like
say
and I
why.
know, like I've felt that before as well. But what I was going to say is like the thing is like when we say that it helps, right? Or it helps us help people, like
Mhm.
what it doesn't really do anything after the fact, like unless we as a people take an initiative and move forward with that instead of it just being a feeling. You
Right,
know what
right.
I'm saying?
This is what I mean. Okay. Let me tell you why I say we use them together. If, for example, if I go to, I don't know, a chiropractor or a physical therapist, and I have a pain, right? And they say, "Oh yeah, you're having this pain because XYZ is going on." When you feel this pain again, what you should do is do this stretch, right? Just do this stretch at the house, right? It'll help relieve this muscle in your back. This is what the tension that you're feeling when you, okay, just do this stretch. Well, eventually I learned to do that stretch, right? I build up the core muscles that are there. I don't have to keep going to see the physical therapist, right? I don't have to keep going. I get the relief that I need. That was actually helpful. I feel better. I can go on about my day. One of the things that makes church that you have to come back to the thing is because I'm going to shame you if you leave the thing, right? I'm not saying that they don't work separately. I'm saying that in this particular instance, we work them together, right?
I don't know.
This
That never was a motivator for me. Them shaming me for not
definitely
coming to church
motivated me.
was never a
Definitely
motivator.
motivated me.
The thing that kept me coming back was that feeling, right? Was the belief that I was connecting with this source, right? That would allow me to speak in tongues, that allowed me to sing powerfully, that allowed me to preach powerfully, that allowed me to shout and dance. Like, never did I ever give a fuck about them shaming me for not coming back to church. Like,
Well,
that
not
wasn't
just them
a thing
shaming
for
me,
me.
not just them shaming me, but like the shame of me being a sinner. Okay, but let me use it. I was gonna give you a story of mine. I used to date this girl that went to church with me, right? And I probably told you this story before. Anyway, I used to date this girl that went to church with me, and on Saturdays we would do it, right? That was our day to do it, right? And then on Sundays, of course, I'm a wretched and undone, filthy motherfucker, right? And so I need to go to church because I need to have this experience where I cleanse myself of all my unrighteousness and yada yada yada, right? Like, because I needed to go be forgiven for my sins again. Because if I wasn't doing anything, like if I was doing nothing wrong, then I didn't think the church was helpful to me. Like, what am I doing sitting here? Like, I got this together. That was on, at least that's how it worked for me. Now that may not be everybody's experience. That was definitely mine. If I was living great, if I had it all together, I wouldn't need Jesus. Right.
No, that's what I'm saying. I definitely think that they could be used together, but I don't think that they are inherently used together.
Oh,
I
they're not
think,
mutually exclusive. That's for sure.
yeah,
Right.
because and what I'm saying is, like, even with it by itself, right? It's that drug effect, right? It's that high that you get, right? That temporary numbness, a temporary solution, that feeling that says, okay, everything's going to be okay. And
Mm-hmm.
then 2 or 3 days later, that feeling has worn off,
Mm-hmm.
and you're back to feeling depressed or burdened or worried or anxiety, and then you need it again, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's that thing that the church uh pushes,
Mm-hmm.
like the dope dealer does.
Mm-hmm.
They
I
know
agree.
that it exists. Like, there was a lady that joined our live one day, and she said that they would intentionally manipulate that feeling. They would put vanilla into the air vents. They would put music on a specific gigahertz. They would put the air conditioner at a specific thing, and they knew what time to turn it on to make people feel like the Holy Spirit had come into the room. And then if they wanted the people to have a specific type of reaction, and that they would manipulate it.
To some degree, I think most places do that. Like, that's basically the minister of music's job, and I was a minister of music for a long time. Right, like that. Even if you didn't have the vanilla sense, or if you went to a church that didn't have an air conditioner, you know what I'm saying? That what they called it was what they called it, setting the atmosphere. You get what I'm saying? And you would lead things in a certain way. You would play things in a certain way, sing certain kinds of songs at a certain time, right? In order to what they call set the atmosphere, right? So yeah, that's definitely a thing. The and you could do that in a manipulative way, or you can do that in a what's the word I'm looking for? Encouraging way, right? Because a part of what we're doing here again is we're building fictive kinships, and it's a ton of little small pieces. I'm using this one, right? A part of what we're doing is we're building fictive kinships. A lot of times what end up happening in church services is because the focus isn't necessarily on the people with you, right? It's the focus on the preacher and Jesus, the character Jesus, and whatever, just the story. So sometimes you'll leave from a service without actually making the bond with your fictive kin, right? So you get home and you're really maybe I'm saying this wrong, for lack of better words, you're missing the people. You're missing that, like you can't reach out to that person and have that experience again. Um, and you're like, okay, a part of it is I need to get back and see those people. I need to get back into that environment, because when I'm with those people in that environment, this happens, right? But the same thing could happen for you, if you have a really good friend, right? Like one of the reasons that we develop deep friendships is basically for the same reason, right? We develop because I have this person even our romantic relationships, our friendship relationships, our close family relationships. I have this person that I know I can get this feeling from. Every time I come home and see my grandma, my mama, I just be just as happy as a bug because I know that we're going to share that feeling, right? And I can't get that feeling anywhere else. I know that when I come home, we're going to laugh about stuff that y'all might not even find funny. It don't matter if y'all find it funny. We think it's funny, right? So it can be constructive. And I use that feeling and even the lack thereof. Like when I leave home, every time I leave home, I share it. I'm 43 years old. Every time I leave my mama's house, I cry. Every time. But I use that feeling to go and accomplish the things that I need to accomplish. It's fuel for me, but it makes me sad every single time, right? I know I'm gonna miss my mama, I'm gonna miss my grandma, I miss them. And so, but I use that feeling when I'm away from home it encourages me to go do the thing.
I think that's
right?
the thing that everybody loves about you though, Bash. Like
Mm.
you're so in tune with what you feel, you're in tune with your emotions, and you use them, right? For like in a physical way,
Mhm.
if that makes sense, right?
Mhm.
Your emotions and your feelings become things. They
Yes.
become physical things. And I think
Yes.
that's why, everybody just falls in love with you because they get to experience that part of you. And it's not some fly by night. Like it is. I don't know how to explain it. It is what it is. Does
It
that
is
make
what it is.
sense? Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I want to share that process. Like, don't just come feel this. Don't just come get high on anything, right? Use that to build something real. I keep talking about this Southern Soul thing and like this movement of music that's happening, like all these independent artists doing this thing and all these country artists that are doing this thing. Don't just let that come to town and you go and dance,
Mm-hmm.
right? Turn that into something. There is a seed there,
Yeah.
right? Use that, network with that, build in that, make some real tangible money, build some real tangible community in real life. Don't just go get high on it, right? But get high on it. I'm not saying don't. I'm not saying don't get high on it. I'm saying don't just get high on it. Enjoy it, but there is a industry of joy. There is a Walt Disney has made $1 trillion
Off of
making people
joy.
smile.
Yeah.
Yes, right. There is an industry in joy, right? Don't just go get high on it. Go and figure out why is this working? How do we continue it? Because let's say Walt Disney had made one movie and it just did really well, and that's all they did. They just made that one movie and did really well, and never figured out how it worked. Well, then the infrastructure for Disney World wouldn't exist,
Mm-hmm.
right? Right. But build the infrastructure for Disney World, right? Build that, right? But it's really just based on human smiles. That's it. People want to smile. People want to feel good, right? Don't manipulate them, but in that thing, build the infrastructure so that it's sustainable, right? It's tangible. It can help people out in more than just the one way, right? Like it can be really actually helpful to people's real lives, not just a good feeling on a Sunday or when things come on. Because you can imagine that even when you come on live, that there's a reason that the same 300, 400, 500 people, same 500 people gonna come see you every day. You might get a couple new people that pop in, that's their first time seeing you, but at least 500, 600 of them folk, the same folk from yesterday. Well, why they keep doing that? Well, because they feel a thing, right? They feel a kinship, they feel a bond, they feel a connection, right? But don't just build a connection with thinker. Read the damn book, right? Like learn something, do something in your real life,
Yeah.
right? Don't just come laugh at Lords. She is hilarious, but figure out what she's saying. Like learn, build a relationship with her, get to know her in real life, right? Don't just meet Fee and think she's brilliant. Get to know her, right? Figure out what y'all can do together. Figure out how Fee has been really helpful to me. That most of that stuff that y'all, 99% of that stuff that y'all saw in Florida is because Fee is a genius, right? Because she just, hey, that's what you want to do. I'm gonna help you do that. What? Like that's tangible. That's real, right? That's not just, oh, she's so sweet. No, that's real. Like you can see that turn into something for real. So that's what I'm getting at with that is to use those seeds of emotion and bonding and blah 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 to go from the spiritual to the tangible. If that makes sense. Am I making sense when I say that?
Yeah. Yeah. Like the high is cool,
Yeah.
but what is the tangible benefits of it? Like, don't just, come and get high. Do something with it. Yeah.
Do something with it, man. If you ever go visit Peru, specifically to Lima, if you ever take a plane to Lima, when you get off the plane, people hand you a coca leaf. And you know what they make out of coca leaves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So they hand you a coca leaf and you're supposed to chew it. And the reason that you're supposed to chew it is because you're very high in the sky. Like Lima is like super high above sea level. So the air is actually really thin up there. Right. And you chew the coca leaf because it expands your lungs. So you actually can breathe better after you chew it. Right. But you're gonna get a little buzz too. It's just part of the process. Right. But don't just go get high on the coca leaf. Breathe. You know what I'm saying? Like, breathe. Like, there's a reason for that. Like, use that to do something productive, right? And that, I think, a lot of times in our deconstruction, like, and we're making a industry in deconstruction. There are people like even us right now. We're over 1,000 subscribers on this channel now, and we can monetize now, and a small amount, but it's a little industry that happens in anything, right? But we literally were just two people who were on the internet who had common interests, right? But from that common interest, you build a bond, and from that bond, you build industry, right? Something that's tangible, something that can help us in real life, not just to get our thoughts out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I wanted to say about it. Is this the second video or is this the first video? No, this is the first video. I'm gonna hold off on the second, and maybe I'll do it on a live later because that's a different concept, and it's a concept of atonement, right? But because I feel like a lot of times, I'm just gonna kind of mention this. I feel like a lot of times, just understanding the way a religion works, right? Like I want my sins to be washed away from me, but I don't necessarily. So I get someone to atone for me, and in Christianity is Jesus, right? Jesus atones for me, but I never atone to the people I hurt, right? I never, right? You go do all this bad stuff, and then I can just run to Jesus, and I'm forgiven. And now I'm looking at you. I hear people say this all the time. And the devil always want to bring up what you did in your past. Well, it ain't the devil that's bringing it up. It's the people you did it to. They bringing it up because you never atoned with them. You never made that right. Right. If you never made that right, you've gotten your sins washed away. Right. But you didn't make that right. And you still need to go make that right if it's at all possible. Right? You need to, and I don't just mean apologize, right? I don't just mean repent. I mean go fix that. Like go fix that. Right? If I did something wrong to you, my saying I'm sorry, what the fuck does that do? What does that do? Nothing. Okay, you sorry. So what? Right? You broke something. Fix it. If it's at all some stuff you can't fix, right? But if it is at all possible to fix, and that person wants you to fix it, you should fix that. You should make amends. You should atone for that, right? And religion kind of takes away that accountability of the act of you atoning for a sin, right? If you atoning for your wrongdoing, is Jesus forgave me. But you didn't do this to Jesus. You did that to me.
Yeah.
Right? Right? You need to come see me about that. Right? You need to fix that with me. Praying to Jesus is going to help you. That's going to help reset your conscience. But it doesn't help mine. Right? That's going to help. And so then they put the onus of forgiveness on the other person that's been wrong. Right? Right. Anyway, I want to talk about how that works another time, though. But yeah, but if you that's so much. Anyway, I'm sorry. That's the other video. That's what the other video is about. But nonetheless, I, I think that in this deconstructing space, right, we should be looking out for ways. I hate to use the word capitalize, but looking out for ways to build upon the joy, to build upon the bonds, to build upon the togetherness and the collective thought and the common goals, right? So that when this is all said and done, there is something that's sustainable, right? Something that just wasn't a good feeling, something that just wasn't trivial information being shared,
Mhm.
but tactile ways to improve life.
Yeah, I agree. I agree that, and again, that's why we started uh, working in raising money for specific causes and stuff like this. If we're gonna be on the internet for 11 hours a day, like something got to come out of it.
Something
Something,
got to come out of it.
yeah, I agree.
Something to come out of it. Otherwise, we just sat around and got high with each other all day. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that it's bad that I just happen to enjoy hearing your voice. That's great. I do enjoy hearing your voice. I enjoy hearing what you think. I enjoy me and my mom was talking about you yesterday at Whole Foods. We were just going on and on about how much we like you, right? Because we do, right? And that's great. But more, I mean, just as important, let me not even say more important, just as important as that is, man, what can we do together?
Mhm.
Right? What can we do? I said this the other day. 3 questions that I like to ask. They came from a Young Jesus song. What it is, what it do, what the business is. Right? If you see something you like, what is that? Man, I really think it's great. What does she do? Well, she helps people deconstruct. What business can we do with that? Right? What can we make from that? Right? How can we work together? What can we build that makes her life better, my life better, our lives better in a tangible way? Right? And when we start to look at it that way, we bring things from the metaphysical to the physical. Right? That's a miracle.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
That's a real live miracle. And we have that opportunity to do that every time. Like every time we get together, we have the opportunity to create something that can literally feed families. Like, and out again, no, this is not pie in the sky. This is a fact. Like, you can build things that can literally feed people in Africa in real life, right? I ain't got to pray to God or do nothing, but in real life, we can literally feed people, right? And I think if we allow that seed to be thrown away, then we would have missed opportunities. And man, I don't want to do that. I don't want to spend the rest of my life missing opportunities like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That's what I want to talk about. I'm sorry I took up so much time. I just really want to talk about that, just to encourage people, because I'm sure it's people who got ideas right now, or who, I don't know, just whatever, man. Like, just to open up the thoughts to that. Right. I'm looking forward to you writing a book, as a matter of fact. Are you writing a book? Because I feel like you should.
No, yeah, I am.
Yeah. I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to reading. Just
Yeah.
so it can be tangible, right? So that people can study along. I mean, I know you got the Google Drive and people can read along, but just like a collection of, here, take that, right? And it's like, okay, boom, let's read that, let's share that, right, and that literally can feed people, right?
Mhm.
It can give them something to do at home when they're not around the group, but it also gives them an opportunity to share with other people, right? Boom, boom, boom. That creates income, and that income you can use to build whatever it is that you need to build, because especially now that the economy finna, when an economy get fucked up, y'all, you have to be innovative, right? You have to be innovative, because the money that people were making or were earning might get a little funny. So then you have to figure out a way to make money, right? And make money is different than earning money. When the earnings start dropping, you got to figure out how to make it. And the best way to make it is to make it out of love. The best way to make it is to make it from your bonds. Make it from your bonds, from your heart, so that you're not being manipulative. So you're not doing something that you hate. That I know so many people that go to work because you got to do it, right? But when it's something that you can see a moral benefit in, or something you can see psychological and emotional benefit in, you work harder, right? And the work is just better, just better.
All right. Well, that's the end of the show today. I think it's a like you said, a well needed discussion about the collective not consciousness, collective effervescent, but I think it's what a lot of people call Christ consciousness and
Mm.
like collective consciousness and the idea of oneness. But putting it in more realistic terms for people to think about and deconstruct and to see how to use this what they call a phenomena beneficially for making the world a more um I guess a better place, right?
Better
So
place. Yeah.
that we can spread the resources around equally.
Hmm.
You know.
Hmm.
So yeah. I
That's how you
appreciate
build the
y'all.
world you want. Thank
Yeah.
you, my love. Thank you for humoring me with that. We can get back to our regularly scheduled program next week, but I appreciate y'all for allowing me to talk about that.
Oh, you're welcome. It was a good conversation. I will see y'all tonight on live at 11 p.m. as usual. And I hope y'all have a great rest of the week.
All right.
All right. Bye.